There's always a pressure and a responsibility for filmmakers when entering into a project, but this must have been quite a daunting prospect at the beginning.
No, not daunting at all. I mean, just such a joy to be asked to make the first film, ever released in theaters with Dr. King at the center. Nothing that I ever thought would be handed to me, but it was, and I didn't feel daunted by it. I felt just, invigorated by the risk and the task and the challenge.
It's quite surprising. I mean, why do you think it took so long for there to be a film about his life? I mean, we've seen one about, J. Edgar Hoover last year, for instance.
Yeah, it's been 50 years. I wasn't there in all those years, so I can't say. But I know it's here now, and we're overjoyed that we were able to get this out into the world.
And your family sort of from Selma, Montgomery sort of areas. Did this feel then to be quite a personal, quite intimate project for you, despite the fact it's dealing with such kind of grandiose sort of themes?
Absolutely. I mean, what we were trying to do is actually get to the heart of King as a man, and so in order to do that, you have to really know the places where he's from and where he stood. My father's from Lowndes County, Alabama, so I definitely know this part of the world, as part of the Deep South, so I felt a very personal connection.
But sort of in spite of that, was it still quite a sort of educational experience for you?
Absolutely. I learned something every day, particularly from the people who are real survivors of these marches, these really violent marches. There are people who are still alive who were able to share stories with me, people who knew Dr. King personally, who are able to share those things that you don't see after he steps off of the pulpit. I learned a lot. It was beautiful.
And one of my favourite sort of aspects of this is that when you sort of have films that sort of biopics, that sort of label them, they can deal with sort of too much. They can be set over sort of 40 years. Sure. Whereas this was very sort of small. It sort of dealt with a sort of quite a small period in his life, but a very kind of important one. What do you think it adds to the film that you're staying quite small narrative-wise and just within a sort of month period?
Well, there are a number of ways to go about telling the story of a life. You can go cradle to the grave, birth to death, but I like this approach. There's something similar to what Steven Spielberg did in Lincoln, where you're just taking a slice of life, and through a short time in someone's life, you're able to illuminate who they were and the whole life. And I think that's what Selma does. It allows you to see King at the height of his powers and really understand who he was and how he used that power.
I mean, of course, David is absolutely incredible in the lead role. It must make your job just that sort of little bit easier when you're sort of working alongside someone like him.
Yeah, I mean, he's exquisite. He's an exceptional talent, an extraordinary person, a human being to be around. And so we have a lot of fun on set, but also he can do anything that my imagination comes up with. I can ask him to do anything, think about anything, portray anything. I mean, he's a master, a young master. We'll be talking about him for a long time.
Because I mean, there's actually quite a few British actors involved in this. Tom Wilkinson, Tim Roth as well, of course.
The whole cast is British, actually.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Almost half.
Yeah.
No, but not really. But four, Carmen Ejogo, who plays Coretta Scott King.
But I mean, do you think that they're kind of the fact that they're coming into this story from an outside perspective as Brits is actually quite beneficial to the finished product?
I think so. I mean, in America, and especially for African Americans, King looms so large. It's kind of always with us, and to have that outsider perspective, someone who can come out and deconstruct what they've seen and reconstruct in a fresh way. I think the fact that they are from another country has helped with that.
And I read, obviously, you're set to reunite with David again for the Hurricane Katrina
movie.
When how far into production is that at all?
Well, no, we're still preparing the film, but I'm excited to reteam with him. I think we make a good team.
And just finally, I mean, of course, I was sort of desperately hoping I was going to see your name crop up in the Best Directors list at the Oscars, and as for David, is that something that we care more about than those within the industry, or is that when you sort of see that, can it be quite sort of disappointing, or do you not give it as much?
No, I mean, I think a lot of people cared about it. Maybe more than I did. It's been a lot of talk about it. I was able to let it go rather quickly because I never really let it in. I didn't think it was going to happen anyway, so I wasn't as invested as some other people. But I understand people being concerned about it. I think the nominations. We've got 2 lovely nominations. But people feeling that's not enough is gorgeous for me as a filmmaker, but ultimately the film lives on. That nothing's wrong with the film. The film will go on to have a beautiful life, and I'll be at the Oscars in a pretty dress.
Brilliant.
It's all fine.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's much appreciated.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!